Patriots were back at practice as they prepare for their last game of the preseason against the Titans. Zach Cox and Dakota Randall have their takeaways from today's practice.
Zach Cox, Dakota Randall here outside Gillette Stadium after the Patriots' 17th training camp practice.
You've been keeping track? Wow.
Yeah,
I've lost count a while.
17. We're almost at the finish line, almost at week one. Different setting than we were expecting for Patriots training camp today. We thought they would be down in Nashville practicing with the Tennessee Titans, but in the wake of Isaiah Bolden's injury Saturday night, Bill Belichick changing plans, bringing the team back home, and they will have these final two practices here in Foxboro. Definitely a lighter practice today, a pretty stark difference from what the team had in Green Bay last week. We were expecting another kind of spirited, fiery practice, but they weren't in full pads today. A little bit sloppy, definitely a little bit low energy. Very different from what we were anticipating.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after being in Green Bay and seeing how things were there, you were thinking this week it would go up a notch with the Titans, with Mike Vrabel coaching, a really physical, intense team. You thought you were going to get a lot of that. And then, now, like you said, the juxtaposition. No pads today, lighter practice. You definitely felt sloppy. I don't know if that's because they too kind of had ramped themselves up to go to Tennessee, and now they're here, maybe taking the foot off the gas a little bit. A couple interceptions, some drop passes out there. Just didn't seem as crisp as especially it did on that second day in Green Bay, but we'll see how it looks tomorrow.
We did see some interesting and notable participants in this practice. Bill Belichick, when we spoke to him beforehand, teased the fact that a couple players we haven't seen in a while were going to be back on the field today. Those players ended up being tight end Mike Gesicki and running backs Ty Montgomery and Pierre Strong. None of those players were full participants. Gesicki and Strong were both in red jerseys, and Montgomery was limited. But the fact that all three of those players were back was notable, but especially Gesicki, because this is a guy who suffered a dislocated shoulder just about a week ago. He was someone we thought potentially could miss the start of the regular season. Now, maybe that still happens, but the fact that he was already back on the field so quickly, certainly a positive sign for the Patriots offense.
Yeah, I was surprised. When he said that they were going to be 2 or 3 players back on the field today, I was thinking the offensive linemen. I was thinking Onwenu, Calvin Anderson, Cole Strange. I was really surprised to see Mike Gesicki out there. We saw the report that it was a minor shoulder dislocation. I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, do I really believe that? Like, can I picture, Mike Gesicki with the position he needs to play and the kind of defenders he needs to go up against playing in week one? I doubt it, but after seeing him here today, I mean, he was in the red non-contact jersey. He didn't do a ton, but it's definitely a huge step forward for him. Saw him doing some work on the jugs after practice, catching passes. So maybe he is trending in the right direction. I think that's a huge thing for the Patriots because I think he's a big part of what they'd like to do on offense this year.
Only got a small workload in team drills, but I believe he was in there for at least 2 11-on-11 reps. I saw him in one of the positional drills reach up and kind of catch a pass above his head. Obviously something difficult to do when you have a dislocated shoulder. So
right.
The fact that he looked kind of as fluid as he did, again, certainly a good sign. One player who had a lower level of participation than we were expecting was Demario Douglas, really been probably the single biggest star of training camp, was present today, but left shortly after warm-up, spent most of the day on a side rehab field. So certainly really the first kind of setback that we've seen from the 6th-round draft pick this summer.
Yeah, and I think that's the first time we've seen him do anything other than be a full participant this summer that I can think of. Again, but it didn't seem like it was a big deal. Came down at the end, but I didn't see him suffer anything during the preseason game, so I'm wondering what that was. But hopefully it's nothing too big and they can clear it up quick because, going into those joint practices in Green Bay, one of the things I was looking for was, is he still going to be involved in this kind of setting, which can be indicative of what we're going to see in a few weeks. Will he still get a lot of targets? And while it wasn't necessarily a ton with Mac Jones, it was a lot with Bailey Zappi, and it was a lot overall. I think he had 9 catches the second day. So I thought he had a really good week in Green Bay. So a little setback here, and hopefully it's not too much.
Yeah, Douglas projects as a player who almost certainly will be on the 53-man roster at this point and probably will have a role early in the year because Tyquan Thornton remains sidelined. He was not out here today. Someone who was out there and seemed to maybe up his participation level a little bit, Ezekiel Elliott, practicing in Foxboro for the first time. Saw him used in the passing game quite a bit during 11-on-11 drills. He's been with the Patriots for about a week right now. I've yet to see him in a game setting. He dressed but did not play against the Packers. We'll see. So we'll see if he ends up getting out there Friday night against the Titans.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him go out there and get some real game reps. I feel like I know what to expect from him at this point. Like, I know what kind of player they're going to get. I think some of the questions have been just from a culture fit, all those kind of things. Not like he wouldn't be, but you just always wonder that with anybody coming to the Patriots. And I think the thing that stood out for me since he came here is, everybody, all his teammates and coaches have had nothing but great things to say. And there are times when players and coaches for the Patriots talk, and you're like, that's Patriots speak. They're just saying that.
They seem to love him.
Yeah, and they all offer something sort of anecdotal that makes you believe that they actually really think that. So I think he's been a great fit so far. Again, in Green Bay, he brought a ton of energy. He was really involved in those chippy practices. So I think it's been all good so far for him.
Yeah, you always kind of wonder when you got a guy who's as big of a name as Ezekiel Elliott coming into a situation like this where he's not going to be the starter. Is he going to kind of come in with an ego, come in with a big head, but certainly has not seemed that way so far.
Yeah, Adrian Phillips made an analogy that it's like a guy going to a new school for the first time and introducing himself, except it's a new student who everybody's heard of before. So it's a little different, yeah.
Again, hopefully we see him out there on the field Friday night in Tennessee, but before that the Patriots will hold one final practice here in Foxboro before they fly down to Nashville on Thursday.
PNC Bank, helping to make banking easier.